Hi, good morning. Today's December 1st, and welcome to another episode of Ask Ellie Intuitive Insights and Your Questions Answered. So, for those people who are new to the channel, my name is Ellie Molina, and I'm your hostess. And if you're joining me for the first time on this podcast, here's just a little bit about me. I'm an intuitive, a psychic, an author, consultant, educator, and the creator of Psy Kids Academy, a magical place where children and their adults can learn to tap their inner magic while raising consciousness. And to learn more about Psy Kids, head on over to the Psy Kids Academy. It's www.psykidsacademy.com and download your free 16-page brochure titled What If? 6 Ways to Help Your Child Tap Their Inner Magic. So, I'm real excited today to have a guest with me. Greetings, good morning, Thomas, good morning, and good morning, Bobo. And okay, let's get started over here. I want to talk to you first about a fabulous gift that I have for you. And the gift is a month free to the Midnight Portal. This is a space, it's a community space. And here at the Midnight Portal, what we'll be doing is I will be teaching everything from esoteric teachings to psychic development. And it is for the child in us and also the adult in us. So if you are interested in a free month's membership, please either drop me an email at ellie@elliemolina.com or reach out to me on Facebook, and I will have that all handled for you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about. Oh, thank you, Thomas. Thank you. This is fantastic news. It's been in creation for a while, and I'm so happy to share that it's finally implemented now with the December new moon, the solar eclipse, and Neptune going direct, which is exactly what I want to be talking about right now. So, okay, let me just talk a little bit about astrology before our guest calls in. He's on the call. I'm so happy to have him here. Good morning, Eva. Good morning, the Note Troll. And we're going to have you on shortly, Josh. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some of the astrology for today. So, first of all, happy December 1st. Neptune goes direct. It's been retrograde since June 25th in Pisces. And what that means is head on over to my Facebook page and start singing Johnny Nash's I Can See Clearly Now, the Rain is Gone. Once Neptune moves direct, all of the veils that have been clouding our senses, keeping us in that sleeper state, numbing us to what's going on, will be revealed. So we will be able to see clearly now. Now, here's the thing, if you do not like what you see, now is the time on the new moon to change it. And in the Facebook group, the Accessing Higher Consciousness, I will be putting in a new moon ritual. So if you're not a member of that group and you want to be, again, look for me on Facebook and then I will add you into the Accessing Consciousness. So we do have the new moon solar eclipse happening on December 3rd. And this is going to be a glorious day. So use it wisely. No matter what's going on in your life, open the doors to creativity and expansion on this day. Okay, now, thank you for all your comments. Okay, Josh, I'm going to introduce you. I do want you to call in. So there is a little microphone or a little telephone on your app and program that will allow you to call in right now. So if you can just hit that button or that microphone, whatever that looks like on your phone or on your desktop, and it says allow call-ins or it says call in if you're using a desktop, then there is to your right, there is a feature that says call in. So if you could call in now, this would be just awesome. And I'm going to stop, but I'll continue talking until you do call in. And if you have a question about calling in, then what I need you to do is, all right, I'm sending you a link. All right, I just sent you a link, Josh. All right, not sure if that worked, so we will. Hi, Krabby, or just Krabby, just entered the studio. So I'm waiting for Josh to call in, and let's see how I can make that happen. All right, give me 1 second. And I'm going to, if anybody wants to say something in the chat in the meantime while we're talking about, um, well, I'm talking about getting Josh in. This happens sometimes on live calls. You know that, for those of you who've been with me long enough to know that this is what happens. So here you go. Again, I'm sending another. Oh, you're in the invitation list. So I don't, you are, it's already been sent. So there's not much more than I can do on my end. Let's see where you are. Okay. So I'm going to just keep talking. So on the PC, Josh, there, if you get to the Podbean app, there is a section that says call-ins, or there may be a microphone. And if there is a microphone or a call button, then see if you can hit that. Or if you have another email that I could reach you at, then, and you could just send that to me, then I can also get you in through that, because the email that I have on here will not let me resend. All right. So anyway, I'm just going to keep talking until we get him in. But I do want to have Josh with us today, and I do, look, we know that there are always glitches on these live calls. It's like, it's not the first time we've had one. Okay. Okay, Bobo, good morning. Anybody have any questions first while I'm waiting for Josh to get in here? Let's see if I can get him. Here, hold on. Let me see. Okay, I've sent him an invite as a speaker. Let's see if this works. Josh, I've just sent you something. Double check spam. Look for it. It just got sent. All right, so let's give him a moment to go find that link. All right. Anybody have any questions? Well, we're waiting for Josh. I'm going to introduce him while I'm waiting for him right now. Josh is also known as the Note Troll, Josh Malin, and he is a wizard from Canada. Eh? That's like one of those old Canadian things, right? And then, all right, let's see if we got him calling in. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, Josh, I'm sending you these invites, and it keeps saying we've sent you an invite. You may want to check your spam email or whatever this is. Anyway, until I get him in here somehow, some way. Josh is it's Josh when he's not slapping the bass with his banjo funk comedy trio, the Glacial Erratic. He's capturing sonic energy at the studio, known as the Red Room Recordings, or managing environmental infrastructure projects. He hangs out in nature with his wife and kids, or time travels for fun and profit. And I met Josh through an interesting experience that I had. Okay, let's see. He's trying to log on the phone now. Okay, let's hold the space for him because I really want Josh on. Okay, so we're going to set the intention that he gets on somehow, some way. And if anybody has any ideas about how to make this happen, because you've been in this situation also, let me know. Okay. Anyway, I met Josh while I'm waiting for him to get on. I met Josh at a remote viewing um, invite where I had been invited by Daz Smith, who is a professional remote viewer, and he hosts a site called Remote Viewing Perceptions. And Daz was talking about the November predictions. The remote viewers that work with his site predict the news events for the month November, December, October. And so the first part of that call, which you can actually see on YouTube, was maybe it would be easier for him to go to his phone. Yeah, if you have a phone, this would really work great. Also, sometimes the phones do work better. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Anyway, if I don't know if that helped you, Josh, then in the November, Josh was one of the remote viewers who had contributed to the November news predictions. And there were a lot of people that had predicted, but the one that caught my eye, and there were a lot of people that predicted in November who had, like, as the month unfolded, of course, they had some, they had real accuracy and they saw some really important events. But the one that caught my eye was the one about, I saw a news article which was Bill Gates' 4 billion high tech nuclear reactor set for Wyoming coal site. And he's planning an advanced nuclear power venture um, coming soon. And it's been chosen. There was a town chosen in Wyoming where they're going to build a $4 billion demonstration plant, and it will get half its funding from the US government. And um, anyway, as it's an entire big construction site. And so then it's also getting money from the infrastructure bill, and it's going to be a really super, super big project. This is a very serious government grant, is what was quoted in Reuters. They're partnering with GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy. It's going to be a really big deal. And then as I was reading this article, um, I remembered watching, I remember listening to a remote viewer show his pictures and share his story about what he had seen. And it was with uncanny accuracy. And that's where I want that Josh saw this event a month before it hit the newspaper. And I was just so excited that, he's here. Hold on. Josh, you did it just in
Hey.
time. And I was so excited. I know you're probably sweating after trying to get on now, but it doesn't matter because you're here. And I was so excited when I saw Josh's remote view and how uncanny accurately this was, that I said, I got to get you on the podcast. And I did. So thank you for being here. And I know you heard me rambling over here in the meantime, but tell us a little bit about, say hi to everybody. They've been waiting patiently here for you, and share a little bit about your remote view and what you saw. And um, yeah, and then we'll talk about how you got into this. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Sorry, I'm on my phone here, and I usually have my big fancy microphone.
Mm,
Not sure why Podbean doesn't want to let me connect through my PC, but anyway, we got it together now finally.
I
Sorry
know
about
it's
that.
strange. No, don't be sorry. These are learning curves for me, because each time something like this happens, it's like another opportunity for me to see, what do I need to do also as the hostess? So it doesn't matter. I'm just happy you're here.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's all yours,
glad
Josh.
to
It's all
glad
yours.
to
Go
be here.
ahead.
Yeah, so I'm actually just going to try and pull up the session on my computer here. But yeah, so I'm a part of I joined a Facebook community for remote viewing recently, and in November they did this cool thing where they just said, hey, if you're part of this community and you're into remote viewing and you want to try and predict the news for the next month, do something and send it in, and then at the end of the month we'll all compare results and see what happens. So yeah, so I took a stab at it, and I have a background in infrastructure in engineering. So I had previous to doing this, I'd actually been doing this little experiment where I would predict the news in my own small town newspaper every day. And so I was trying to just, see what would come up the next day, just as training, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to see like, okay, well, what can I do with this remote viewing? How can I, can I truly see the future? And I found out pretty quickly that yes, I can, which, is pretty crazy. But,
Yeah,
so,
we're
so
gonna circle back to that. Can I just
yeah.
interrupt you? There may be people listening who do not know what remote viewing is. We always have new people entering the room. So,
Mhm.
remote viewing is the ability to see. This is how I look at it: to see over time, distance, and space, without the use of our physical eyes. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I kind of see it as like almost a Google search of the universe that you do with your brain as the computer. That's
Okay.
that's kind of what my understanding of it has grown into. I haven't been doing it long. I found remote viewing through a documentary on I think it was on Prime. It's on YouTube as well. It's called Third Eye Spies,
Mm-hmm,
and I threw it on one night in September, and it was fascinating, and at the very end of the documentary, as credits were rolling, I had this kind of just words injected into my head, like a very clear thought. It seemed like it was in my voice, so maybe it was me from the future telling me in the past to do something, but which is a thought before I started remote viewing that I never would have had. But now I'm starting to think that that's the kind of stuff that really is possible, and
mm-hmm.
uh,
Trust me, there's a lot that's
oh,
possible.
I'm starting to realize that for sure. But anyway, so it was a very clear, like this a thought in my own voice just jumped into my head at the end of the documentary that said, Google remote viewing Udemy.
Mhm,
um,
mhm,
and Udemy is a course
mhm.
website where you can learn all kinds of fantastic stuff. So I did that, and the very first one that came up, there was a course on sale for $14 or something like that. So I said, okay, let's give this a go and see what happens. And yeah,
Just out of curiosity, who was the? Do you mind sharing who was the teacher for that one?
yeah, a guy named Stacy Talich,
Okay,
and he was taught by Ed Dames,
okay.
who is, I guess, pretty well known in remote
Mhm,
viewing circles as well.
mhm,
And he had something like 16,000 students or something. So I figured, sure, let's give it a go.
mhm.
And yeah, it was a cool course. For anyone that's I jumped in right away, and I got the very first. He kind of eases you into it, but then it escalates quite quickly.
Right, right, right.
So the very I think the fourth prediction. I don't want to give any spoilers away in case people do want to
Mhm. Right,
you
goes.
do that course.
Mhm.
But I'll just say that some of the later lessons are not necessarily for the faint of heart.
Okay,
uh,
okay. All
so
right.
it with this particular instructor,
Mhm,
and I mean he is coming from the military training. This remote viewing originated with
mhm.
as it exists now with the U.S. military, and
Right,
probably other ones, but those are the ones that I'm aware of because all their documents now are declassified and they're
right,
online and you can read them.
right, right,
And
right. Mhm.
it is a protocol that you follow. It's very step by step. It's very mechanical. And my understanding of the reasoning for that is that that mechanical structure kind of gives you something to follow so that you don't have to think too much, because really the key of remote viewing is to not think. You got to
Yeah,
perceive and record.
right, exactly.
That's all you're there to do, and then at the end of it you need to analyze the data that you pulled down. So to get back to your original question, so my November news that came up, I got the very first thing that popped into my head when I started it. Do you know the Large Hadron Collider that they have
Of
over in
course.
Europe, the big
Yep.
technological thing?
You know, that
So
made the news also, right? You know that, right?
it did. I saw that too, and it was in November.
Yes, it did.
Um,
It made November news also. Uh-huh.
so, so yeah, so that was the very first thing that popped into my head. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to write that down, because if you see something clearly, if you see something and you know what it is in remote viewing, you're supposed to write it down and
Hmm.
say that it's an analytical overlay, an AOL.
Right. Hmm.
And so I jotted that down, and then I saw an excavator. Like it was a close up of like the hydraulic cables on an excavator, and I knew what it was because I've been around excavators on construction sites and things lots of times. So I wrote that down too. And you're supposed to write down all the colors, textures, smells, tastes, anything you experience. It's called remote viewing, but remote
Hmm.
perceiving is probably a better phrase, because really you're perceiving it's you're projecting your consciousness to a site, and
Hmm.
you're perceiving what's going on at those sites, and you may be projecting to a variety of sites, which is quite possible
Hmm.
on this task, as to what I did, because I did get things that were, you know, different things from different places, and like you said, the LHC showed up in the news, and so did this other thing. So anyway, I went through the process. I sketched all kinds of little things that I thought I saw. I ended up getting just zooming down to my composite sketch here, but I got mountains. I got this sense of destruction of nature to
Hmm.
facilitate capitalism. I wrote that as one of
Hmm.
my
Right.
aesthetic impacts.
Yes, I remember that. Hmm.
Um, I'm very big on nature, and I'm an environmental
So
engineer,
are so
and
are
as
most of
well
our
as
listeners here.
yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine. Um, but I mean, my background and my love of the environment, it's a bit at odds at times with construction. But I mean, my job most of the time is really to make sure that construction proceeds in a way that is beneficial to the environment, that no damage is being done. So it's something that's kind of in the front of my mind a lot, and I find with remote viewing that it's a very, very personalized thing. Like it if I were really wanted to jump to conclusions, I would go as far as to say that it's perhaps your own highest self, or the spirits of your ancestors or something like that, guiding you when you remote view, and so the things you see and perceive and feel are resonant with your own um, soul, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, for lack of a more technical term, I'm trying to stay as technical as possible
No, you don't have
with
to. You
all of
be,
this, right?
no,
Oh,
you
I
don't
know,
have
I
to.
know. I know I don't have to, but I just
Yeah,
feel like for
yeah,
me that's
yeah, yeah.
I have friends that are very technical people, and if you describe things to them in more spiritual type phrasing, a lot of people shut down, I find,
Mm.
when you talk about this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So the trick for me is always like, how do I talk about this stuff that I'm experiencing in a way that isn't gonna, freak people out, or
Mhm.
have them kind of immediately say, oh, this guy's full of crap, or whatever, right?
Right.
Um,
Well, I'm going to give you just a little. I'm going to interrupt over here a second, and I've been one of my favorite comments that I received from somebody a few years ago was when he said to me, "You talk about psychic abilities the way that other people talk about the weather." And that is my ultimate goal,
that's
because
great.
that's what we're all psychic. And that's why I wanted to circle back to you, because you didn't have any, like, quote unquote, everybody thinks, oh, you got to be psychic to do remote viewing, and none of that is true.
Nope.
We all have these abilities. And so that's why it's like, this is really great, because you did not come from a psychic background. You came from a curious background where you
Mhm.
wanted to learn, and then you learned. If that's how I understand it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not to say that I haven't had, a number of interesting experiences in my life, which I definitely have.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on a street with a church on it, and in Canada, if you know anything about the church in Canada back in the day, they were doing some pretty horrible stuff. So essentially, every house on that street is built on Indigenous burial sites, and I slept in the basement for my whole life.
Oh my.
so so I would occasionally wake up to an angry spirit, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of in the corner of my perception, and I'd wake up and it would just kind of lunge at me, and I'd freak out and I'd be swatting at it, and then it would dissipate, and but I mean I was definitely awake and seeing it, and it
Mm-hmm.
was in that space in between sleep and wakefulness that it would
Right.
happen, and it didn't happen a lot, like every so often, but I spoke with my brother years later, and he had the same thing happen to him as a kid when we had our rooms in the basement. So that kind of tells you something. And I've had lots of positive experiences as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I never considered myself psychic or anything like that. I just thought I was a musician,
Well, you,
and musicians do some weird things, and occasionally we smoke things and stuff like that and eat things, and you know
yeah, so do other people too who are not musicians, right?
yeah, but
Yeah, I
with
get it.
being a musician, you're connected to the flow state, a
Right,
lot
right,
a lot.
right.
And
Yes.
that's kind of the key for me. It's music is often my meditation, and uh I think the fact that I've been so connected to music all my life sort of primed me for remote viewing. And I don't think it's necessarily music. I think it's any kind of creative pursuit. Like humans are by nature creative. As long
Right.
as we're not in a state of constant wage slavery and oppression and stress.
Hmm.
When people are taken care of, their natural instinct is to create,
Exactly.
and I feel like that creative energy and remote viewing are very tied together somehow.
Hmm.
Like it is a creative process. You're sending your consciousness out into the universe, and grabbing information and bringing it back and putting it down on a page. Like that's creation. That's bringing something
Absolutely.
into reality that wasn't there, or at least wasn't accessible until you went out there and did your thing. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, it's such a cool process, and I'm
Yeah.
just totally in love with it. Daz Smith. I read his book recently. He's a very talented remote viewer, and he described remote viewing as a mental martial art. And
Yes.
and when I read that description, I was just like, yeah, man, like
Yeah. Hmm.
that's it right
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. This is so awesome. Where do you think you'll go with this?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm going to keep doing these news predictions. I just did one for December, and the data just dropped a few minutes ago, I think, just before I got on the call, and I'm excited to see what other people got for that one. I got some stuff that looked very much like a stock market downturn, we'll just say, and I did it last week on Saturday. I got all these visuals of like the New York Stock Exchange and Trump Tower and the Rockefeller Center. So I'm like, okay, something in New York.
Oh,
And
let's keep an eye on this, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's we'll see what happens, but there is some downward movement happening in the last couple of days, and I'm just kind of thinking, oh, and weirdly enough, right after I did that session, my wife came downstairs and said, "Hey, do you guys want to watch Miracle on 34th Street?" So,
Mm. Mm. Wow.
set in New York. I'm like, huh, I've been flying around New York with my brain for the last hour, so that's kind of weird.
Plus,
But
you're also, I'm in New York too. You know that, right?
yes,
So
yeah, I know. You told me that this morning. I was like, huh, a lot of New York things coming up this week.
that's
But yeah, no,
right.
that's the thing. Like I've noticed just synchronicities and things like that are just off the charts. Like I used to get little synchronicities and things like the 1111s and the 333s and all that.
Hmm.
Every week or so, and now it's just multiple times a day. It's wild.
Yeah, I get it. I so get it. Josh, we are at the end of our 30 minutes, believe it or not, even though you didn't have the full 30 minutes. But I am
Sorry.
so, no, don't be sorry, please. This is technology. And I know that everybody's really excited that you're here. And so, um, we're going to continue our conversation in the future, if that's okay with you. And then we'll talk more about all of this remote viewing. And I just want to share with you, Daz is going to be my guest also come January. So that will be
Nice.
interesting too. Yeah. And I'm just so happy to have a lot of remote viewers like back in my life. Something that you don't know is I started remote viewing very early, but without training because I run a psychic business. But it's so much more than a psychic business. It's really conscious awareness. And as you know, it's working with kids and their adults, et cetera, et cetera. So, the community that was the easiest for me to relate to out of all the communities has always been remote viewing because other communities take this psychic stuff and turn it into like metaphysical garbage. And
Yeah.
I cannot relate to any of that because I'm so what's the word? I'm so analytical at the same time, if that makes any sense. Okay, so
Practical. Yeah.
practical and so I've got to have that. It's got to make sense. I'm very science oriented in terms of all of the things that even in terms of the psychic world. So finding remote viewing was just that was a gift for me. And I remember when Lance was getting ready to film Third Eye Spies because he came to the conference in Louisiana that year, and Russell was there and Hal was there, and I didn't really know who they were, but watching it, it was like, oh my God, I'm sitting next to Russell Tark, and he's famous, and I didn't even know who he was. Okay, and it was such an honor and an experience. And then the rest is all history. You know, I've been invited to speak 3 times there now. And
That's awesome.
they're just like family to me. It's a real family. So I'm really glad that you're involved in the remote viewing community. There's also the international, I'm pitching this, I don't get paid for any of this. There's the International Remote Viewers Association for anybody who's interested in communicating and being part of a group of people who love remote viewing. And then there's Daz, and I'm going to put a link to Daz, and I'm going to put a link to all of your stuff on the YouTube channel, if that's okay with you. Okay?
Yeah,
Your music?
absolutely.
Okay. All right.
That's one place I want to go next with my remote viewing is try and remote view some songs that I'm going to write in the
Mm-hmm.
future. Just
Absolutely.
an experiment to see, you know.
Absolutely. Well, look, I don't know if you're familiar with Marty's group, but everybody's doing like stock market, Marty, APP, Applied Precognition Project. So that's
Yep.
another, okay, so that's like working in the stock market, working games, lottery. There are a lot of people working professionally in this industry to make money and use it for their creative abilities.
That's
Absolutely.
I'm not going to lie, that was a big part of what got me into it.
All
And
right.
now that I'm getting into it, I'm finding that my relationship to money is changing in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I used to worry about it a lot, and I don't worry as much now.
Yeah, it's
and
just
and I,
energy. Yeah.
and I haven't had any success. In fact, I tried an associative remote viewing exercise this week to just some sports betting, and I did 3 games, and I got all of them wrong. But
Oh,
my
yeah.
data was good. My data was on point. The photos that I viewed were definitely the photos that I viewed, but they were not associated with the winning team at all. So I think
Yeah.
that was the universe just kind of telling me to cool it on that aspect of
Or
things.
that you just
And
or more practice. It's like just hey, more practice, more practice. You'll
oh
get
yeah,
it.
yeah,
More practice.
it's it could just be that. Yeah, I've got that problem where I'm new at it, but I'm so excited about it that I think I know more than I do probably. So,
Uh,
but
you know,
the
I
learning is
think
coming at me so fast and furious that it's just like
look from
it's
yeah
amazing.
from what
I feel
I've
like
seen.
I feel like a kid again.
Yeah, but
Honestly,
that's
it's so
what that's
exciting.
it is, and that's now I have to pitch my program. This is why I created the Midnight Portal because it's for the kid in all of us. So we're going to be doing remote viewing. We're going to be to psychic work, psycho. So I do a lot of telekinesis also. So I work in that
Cool.
realm, and so all of this esoteric stuff is going to be in the Midnight Portal for the kid in all of us. So it's not just for children and dogs; it's for the child in each one of us because We are. We're just, different ages all in this big body or a small body, whatever body we carry. But we've got all these ages in us, just like those little Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah,
So,
that's an image that comes up a lot with RV here. With you can it was actually one of the ways I was taught to dig into your targets, that your targets are a bit of a nesting doll process, and
mm,
you can pull out elements of them and then focus on that element and dig in and find another element. And I've actually done a couple, and I know we're running low on time here, but when I come back, I can tell you about some of my previous news remote viewing training exercises where I dug into some very interesting stuff. One of my targets was actually an indigenous gathering place where a lot of drum circles and just beautiful community events happen. And when I viewed it, there was just this beautiful, powerful white light energy beaming out of this location. And I dug down into that a bit and saw some pretty interesting stuff.
wow, that is
Yeah,
fascinating. Absolutely.
the
Love it.
the
Yeah.
the sky and more is the limit with this
That's
stuff.
right.
It's
That's
it's it's just
right.
wild.
That's right. Oh, Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day today to be with us and our guests. It was just wonderful having you. And I look forward to seeing you on Daz's meetings monthly and having you back and watching your predictions, the good ones, unfold. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Focus on the positive.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's
Thank
right.
you so much for having me.
Oh,
I'd love to come back another time now that I know how to connect
that's now
properly
you know how to get on.
to this app.
Absolutely, Josh. We're going to do that in 2022. And maybe you'll talk
Awesome.
about your music then instead. Okay. A little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. Okay. Awesome. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And love and blessings to you and your family for the holiday season and beyond. And everybody here on the call, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. All right. Bye. Thanks, Josh. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.